guys, it's Dawn, and this is my 50th attempt to film this video. Here's some footage of me trying to film earlier, but my dog had other plans. Soja. So today, this video is just gonna be about the tips that helped me get out of about $15,000 of credit card debt in about 6 months. So just to give some background, since this is my first video and most of you, if not all of you, don't know much about me, I'm 25, I do work in Austin, Texas as a software engineer, and I moved here about 2 years ago, straight after college, and that's when the debt began. So I moved here from the East Coast with like $1,000 to my name, which was money that I got from graduation, and that was literally just enough for me to put a deposit down on my apartment and to get my utilities and stuff set up. When you start a new job, you typically don't get a paycheck for like the first 2 weeks to like a month. So I was really just putting everything on a credit card. I was just going crazy, and I was kind of in this, I don't know, I felt this false sense of security because I was just like, look, I'm 23, like I work in tech, I make like a really great salary for, you know, a single woman, you know, living on her own. Like I'll be able to repay all this stuff back. It's all good. That was the first mistake. So here I am 2 years later. I just spent the past 6 months getting myself out of that $15,000 grave that I put myself in, and I feel really good. I feel so ready to tackle all of the financial goals that I, you know, wasn't even thinking about doing in the past 2 years. And since I do plan to share my financial journey as well as other aspects of my life here on this channel, I thought this was a really great video to just kickstart the channel, because I feel like I am able to do all the things now because, you know, I did these steps to get me out of debt. Number one, you have to have a budget. Like that's just a must. You have to know where your money is going each month, and that was something I very much struggled with. I felt like I was able to kind of get away with it for as long as I did because I have such good money coming in each month. Like I make enough to like take care of all my bills and then have some left over. So I was able to kind of get away with not really being on top of my finances and like what bills I had and stuff, because they would just come out of my account on whichever due date they were, which I wasn't on top of my due dates or anything. They would just magically come out of my account, and I would just keep going along, right? But I realized that once I started implementing a budget and was able to see what my due dates were, see exactly what my bills were, things were just a little bit more seamless. And I didn't really have like anxiety throughout the month where it's just like, oh, like, am I gonna have enough money in my account, you know, to take care of my bills and all that kind of stuff. It made things so much easier. And you don't have to have like a really fancy like budget setup or anything. I think I had some janky like Evernote. I'm gonna see if I can like actually include it in the video. I don't know how good my editing skills are gonna be, but I'll include it in the video if I can find it. But it was basically just like an Evernote, and I had like the dates of each of my paychecks and then what bills would like fall underneath each paycheck, and I just kept track of stuff like that. I don't keep track of things like that anymore now that I'm out of debt. I do have like a journal where I write down all my expenses and stuff like that, and I have an expense tracker and all those kind of things. Those were things that I did not do when I was trying to get out of debt because I wanted it as simple as possible. But now I am a little bit more creative and elaborate with my budgets and stuff. The second thing, which is once you have your budget, right, and you have all of your bills laid down, you can cut off the fat. You can trim excess stuff that you don't need. So once I was able to like lay out all of my expenses, I kind of looked through and I just realized things that like I didn't really need. I ended up cutting out YouTube Premium. I cut out some more subscriptions. I got rid of cable, and I was also able to look at like the bills that I had left and see if it was worth me like calling and seeing if I could like change my plan or get my rate lower. I did that with my phone bill. I switched to a prepaid plan because I realized I didn't really need like the monthly contract with all this data. Like I just didn't need all that, and I didn't need to be paying all that. I think my bill went from, I think I was paying like $100 and $13.99 a month. And I also had an installment plan on my iPhone, and I was like, nah, this isn't gonna work. So I ended up paying all that off and switching to prepaid, and now I pay $25 a month. So yeah, someone wanted to say hi. Do you want to say hi, or do you want to just like stare awkwardly at me? Okay. Number 3, cut back on variable expenses. Stuff like groceries, if you give yourself like an allowance each month, things like that. Things that you can like directly control, right? Like you can't really control your bills. I mean, you can to a certain extent, but you know, you have to pay for those things. Internet is a necessity for me at least. And there's not much I can do after a certain point, but like my groceries, I can definitely control that to a significant extent. So one thing I actually ended up doing during the 6-month time period was I decided not to spend any money outside of what I had budgeted for like my expenses, and then also for like my variable expenses like groceries and like any sort of allowance I gave myself, which I actually, for most months of me getting out of debt, I actually did not have an allowance. I tend to spend most of my allowance on food and like takeout. Story time. Right before I decided to get out of debt, and this is actually what kind of prompted me to really lay down the law and be like, no, I have to get serious about getting out of debt. I looked at my bank statements for the previous month, and I was just really curious because I had been on this really like ferocious sushi kick. I love sushi. Anyone knows ebi nigiri? Ebi nigiri. So I decided to look at my bank statements to try to see how much money I had spent that previous month in sushi. The horror when I realized that I had spent $500 on sushi. Seeing that number and like adding everything up, it really hit me, and it was just like, this is ridiculous. You don't need to be spending like this, especially when you're $15,000 in debt. Like, it makes absolutely no sense.
Could somebody please make it make sense?
From that point on, I got into seriously trying to repay my debt, and I also started it off with a bang, and I did a 30-day challenge where I didn't spend any money, any allowance money, and no money on food. Like I said before, most of the allowance money that I would give myself was spent on food anyways. And with me having a designated like grocery, budget, which was $200, so I would spend $50 a week on groceries, and I'm like, all right, I have money, for groceries. I don't need to spend money on takeout. Like, I'm not gonna do that anymore. So like, I basically didn't even give myself an allowance for most of those 6 months. I did, during this debt repayment, it did go into the holidays. During that time, I did, fly out of town to go see family in Virginia and stuff. And so I cash flowed all that anyways. I put money aside each paycheck so that I would have money for those trips and stuff. Outside of that, I didn't give myself money to like spend throughout the month on like takeout. If there was stuff that I really needed, like, feminine products, or I needed some lotion or like toothpaste, toothbrush, all that kind of stuff, or like dish soap, laundry detergent, I would make room in my budget for that. Like, I would go ahead and do those because those are necessities. But like, if I wanted something off of Amazon, if I wanted something off of Groupon or whatever, like because I wasn't putting aside money for that, it made me very much conscious about how much I was spending and what was like deemed a necessity. To recap, just cut down on your variable expenses. I chose not to spend any money outside of what was budgeted, and that ended up working for me. And I actually, now that I'm out of debt, I do still very much follow that, into my budgets now. I don't give myself an absorbent amount of money for like my allowance each month. Well, especially because we're in quarantine right now. It is very tempting for me to go on Amazon and just buy a whole bunch of stuff. But I think for the months of not spending money, it's easier for me to work with like, I think I give myself like $50 a month now. Okay, the fourth and final tip. Prior to, this attempt of me getting out of debt, I had attempted to try, to get out of debt before, but the way I was doing it, it was just not sticking for me. I think I would put like each month I would maybe put $400 towards one card, $400 towards another card, $100 here. I was just throwing money at cards. I ended up basically using up that credit that I paid off by the end of the month anyway. So nothing was really sticking until I used the snowball method. For those of you who aren't familiar with like snowball and like avalanche method, snowball is when you tackle your lowest debt first. So let's say you have 3 debts. One is like 500, one is 5,000, and one is like 5,300, okay? So you would go for the 500 first, and then after that, you'd go for the 5,000. And you just keep attacking the lowest debt that you have. It's really motivating because you see debt get cleared out quicker. Basically, the first month that I was trying to get out of debt, by the end of that month, I cleared out the debt on my Capital One card, which had like a $500 limit. And somehow I was over that limit by like 200. So I was maxed out at like 700, which I don't even know how it got into that state. So motivating, and it really inspired me to keep going and like see all of my debts go down to 0. With the snowball method, you're gonna see that first debt get cleared a lot quicker than if you're trying to like tackle multiple debts at the same time. So that really helped me out like tremendously. All right guys, so I think that's gonna be it for today's video. I really hope that you found these tips useful for you in your financial situation. I know these tips helped me tremendously getting out of debt, and I think the 6 months of me getting out of debt has really reshaped my mindset when it comes to finances. I'm very much excited to share that journey with you guys here on my channel. And so I do have some video ideas coming up soon. I do know that next week I'm going to be doing my June 2020 budget. So stay tuned for that video. Go ahead and subscribe and click the notification bar so you will get notified when that video is uploaded. But I'm really excited to be sharing this journey on YouTube, and I hope that you guys, enjoy the content, and let me know if there's anything that you guys want me to share, if there's anything that you want me to clarify about, any more details that maybe I didn't share in this video about my debt repayment journey and like kind of things that I'm doing now. Just let me know and I will absolutely do my best to make a video on that. So yeah, y'all have a good day.